Should
Right
be good.
ahead. That you can't hear.
No, I can't hear it. It's
Okay.
fine. All right, cool. Well, looks like we're live. Um, hey guys, Nerd Plasticast here. We're going to be talking transforming your collection, and I'm not just talking about transforming them into like alt mode. We're talking about reorganization. How a lot of us tend to handle this kind of stuff. Don will end up joining us later, and Cyburn's busy doing exactly what I just talked about, so he won't be with us on the cast right now. He's got way too much going on. He's too busy walking around with a dustpan trying to pick up all the what was the transmetal flakes from his little bee spots. You know, I think me and
Rat
Megan,
trap.
yeah, me and Megan must know all about that. You know, um, but yeah, when it comes to reorganizing, I personally have been doing that a lot myself. Just in the past couple weeks, I've been redoing my entire collection room. Trying to get everything more organized and just displayed better, I guess. And sometimes if you get something new, you have to make room for it, so you have to move things around. Um, how is that handling for you? Because I think you said you were doing something similar, Megamus.
Well, I started changing my collection a number of years ago for various reasons, mostly space. And so then I had to sit down and decide, well, what was I going to do? And there's ways you can do it. If you have too much stuff and not enough room, you can rotate it, put stuff in storage, um, stack it so it looks cluttered, which mine does, or you can sell it. You know, so I mean, there's different options. So I thought what we do first is we talk about the options, and then maybe go into the reasons and so on and so forth.
Sounds good to me. Um, Comes to options. Options are one of those things. It's like you were saying, how much space you actually have to work with. Um, in my case, I've got a couple pretty good sized shelves, and I got like kind of like a smaller room. It's kind of more or less a storage room in an apartment. Um, some people have a full-on room, which I used to do that years ago, but you know how it goes when it comes to downsizing, you know. And when I downsized, I sold a lot, and trying to organize what you have is sometimes a challenge. But what kind of shelving do you tend to use? Because I have like, um, well, I mean they're faux wood, but they're like faux wood particle board style shelving. I don't use detolfs. Um, but what do you use usually?
So I do have four DTOFs, but then I went, and this is actually a great option, is I looked for stores that were going out of business, and I got display cases. I mean, I've got an 8 foot by 6 foot display case. That's just one of them. I mean, I've probably got 10 display cases in various sizes, but I got them all, like, not showing my age, but I got a couple off Craigslist where I would just have to go and pick them up. And almost every single one of them, I'd have to figure out how to disassemble them, get them up the steps, and reassemble them. But that's what I did. I like the glass display cases. I don't like the wooden shelves like for books.
I
So
gotcha.
I that's what I get with. But I was fortunate enough to get these and cram them in this room, and I am out of room. Was one of the reasons.
Well, I mean that happens. Like you have limited amount of space. Like I know some collectors that do the detolfs, they'll put like say Combiner Wars Devastator or maybe even like a third party Devastator in there, and it pretty much takes up an entire shelf. And I'm like, how do you manage the larger figures? Like, where do you usually put these guys? Because you don't normally just put those in your detolf, do you? Do you put them across like a larger shelf or something like that, or how do you handle like Titan size things? You know, like for me, I I have all my larger figures sitting on the bottom row of my shelving because they're big enough to hold them. But I don't have Titan size figures anymore. Back when I did have like Fort Max, Brave Max, Grand Max, they all stood on the top shelves because I had no other place to put them. They wouldn't fit. So I mean,
Yeah.
where do you usually put your like larger figures like that?
So, um, one of the display cases I have is neat because it's a I guess a 4 foot by 6 foot tall shelf,
Hmm.
and it has three shelves in it, but they're modular. So I have two Fort Maxes in there because I took one half of the shelf out, and then the rest I put all the rest in. But like my Brave Max, my oversized Defensor, which if you've ever seen him towers Fort Max, those are all on top and go to the ceiling. And then behind them, I actually have the boxes for the G1, Fort Max, Grand Max, and US G1 Fort Max.
Yeah, but I know when it comes to larger figures, like an issue I'm running into now, because I decided that I was going to put a larger playset stuff on my top shelf, and it's took away a lot of space that I did have at one time. Although I collect tinier stuff, like the biggest stuff I collect really is like just pretty much just combiners, just straight combiners. Um, but I've ran out of space for my combiners because of the way I set everything up now. So I'm having to completely rethink what I'm doing because all my combiners now are disassembled. They're put in my Transformers suitcase to keep them safe and put them away so that I don't get damaged because I know that case doesn't get kicked around or anything. But for now, I'm like, okay, where am I going to put Predaking? Because he's tall. But
Right.
when it comes to smaller figures, I tend to try to use the play sets to actually display some of the smaller figures within the play set. Like the GoBots Andro base, I converted over to my Arc. I got several figures standing on it and on the back portion because it's basically a display case in itself, you know, and it makes a nice display. But when it comes to trying to do like articulated stuff, kind of like more or less like your Beast Wars and so on and so forth, the stuff that's not a brick. Do you do any like displays like that where you actually put them in poses or anything?
Not really. For my Transformers, they're mostly just in robot mode. Sometimes they're in alt mode, and they're just more in a little bit of a dynamic pose, but more stoic to cut down on room. The only, I guess, would be called a display I have is I have two shelves dedicated to Beast Wars, and I have the Predakings, the Predacons on one, and the Maximals on another, and they're kind of in a pose, kind of like a group photo type thing.
Okay.
And then the only other thing I have is I have the Lego sail barge, which is a huge set, but I have it displayed with like all the minifigs on there's a display stand that it comes with where you can put them on, so they're all standing in a row in front of it. So I have that, so that's kind of a display. But then you were talking about what are those called? The bigger ones, like Fortress Maximus,
Yeah, Fort
Omega
Max.
Supreme. Well, I have um, Black Zarak, Scorponok, Fort Max, and Omega Supreme. And I had to move the shelves all the way up to get them to fit. But technically, it's put it this way: in a 4 foot, that's about a 4x4, so like a 4x4 display case. Half of it houses those four plus the Dinobots. That's about it, because they take up that much room.
Yeah.
I mean, they take a ton of room.
And
But I think it's a neat looking display.
yeah, that's the biggest thing, is trying to make it look neat and not look like a cluttered mess. I know some people line their figures up like in a row, you know, kind of like, I don't know, like largest to smallest or whatever. And I think that's a cool idea.
It works.
Yeah, I got a couple.
It's the class photo idea.
Hmm.
Short guys in the front, tall guys in the back. There you go.
Or if you're in the military, taller tap. That's how that works.
I don't know. I was always in the front row, so.
But yeah, I have, because I work at the toy store, and I have one of the guys there brought in some display pieces, and they're basically little plastic acrylic risers.
Yep.
Of different sizes. They're just kind of like a U shape type, and they're like different lengths and different heights. And those usually come in handy. I've got some of my Brave figures set up on a different shelf, with those setting a few of those a little taller, so that way I can put the shorter figures in front, and it doesn't look like they're getting, like, you know, swallowed.
Hidden. Yeah, so all my Action Masters, I have all my loose Action Masters. I have a complete set of Action Masters. If I had them boxed, I sold my loose one, but I still have a bunch of them. And I have them on risers so that you can see them above each other because they're all the same height.
Mm-hmm.
What I got, this is actually pretty interesting because it was cheap, is if you go to Target or whatever, they have what's called a silverware drawer divider. And what it is it's literally a rubber pad riser.
Mm-hmm.
There's 3 tiers. And it's so that you can lay, your spoon, forks, or whatever, and you can get to them quickly. But it works great for Transformers. And that's what I used it for. And I think, if I remember correctly, it was like $3.
Yeah.
It was like nothing.
Yeah,
And you
they're
throw it
cheap.
in there, you put them up, you can see them all, they're all in a row, and they stand, a little higher than the others so you can see them.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my other stuff that I've used is the wife got into this big Beanie Baby kick, and so she bought a bunch of those acrylic boxes that came in. Well, she got out of the Beanie Baby kick, so I kept the little boxes. And they open up, so you get 2 sizes there. You turn them on their side, you got another size. You pull them straight up, you got another side. So you have levels. And you just try and be creative and use as much space as you can. And so, like, one of mine, I've got jets that sit up higher than combiners, because the combiners are in the front and the jets were in the back, so they sit above him, so you can still see them.
Right.
It was just a creative way of doing it.
Yeah. And like, for me, the way I'm trying to do my stuff is I'm trying to kind of keep, I don't know, not like items, but where it kind of just makes sense together kind of things on my end, because I do a lot of smaller stuff. But in your
Sure.
case, do you try to keep like all your like 84 bots together, 86, and so on and so forth? Do you do any of that kind of organization?
So for me, the first 2 series of Autobots and Decepticons I still have in the boxes with the inserts and everything. So sadly, they sit end to end, so all you see is the end of them.
Mm-hmm.
but they fit beautifully in this display case I have, and it looks good. So you don't get all the artwork, but you get the side artwork, and they are. Japanese stuff is kind of put all over the place, but mostly I have a shelf of like nothing but Autobot, what I consider my masterpiece. Now lately, that's also included Studio Series, like for the mini bots, because we were promised masterpiece, but we never got them.
Mm-hmm.
But these pair up very nicely. And the same on the other shelf with the Decepticons. And then I have one DTOF of nothing but cassettes. Anything doing with cassettes. If it's Soundwave, it's a Blaster, it doesn't matter if it's a Kabaya, what? That's where those are. And then right above that, I have another one with nothing but mini bots. And that includes the Europeans, the Japanese, any variations, rare, all that stuff. That's where that goes. So I did separate it. There's a theme for the shelves. Just like I said that there's two other shelves of one's all Maximals and one's all, Predacons. And then I have two more DTOFs of nothing but all my BotCon stuff. And then, believe it or not, I have a whole 6 foot by 4 foot display for my Hot Toys. Yes, not Transformers.
Well, that's the thing. Like, a lot of us collectors don't just collect Transformers.
Right.
Like in my case, I've got what I call my sentimental shelf. And it's got all the stuff that means a whole lot to me. Like, I've got my space Legos sitting there. I've got my monster GoBots, stuff like that, like Monstrous, and all those kind of go together in one area. I've got my G.I. Joe figures, my 3 3/4 figures, but I keep a very, very minimum amount because it's stuff that is sentimental. I've got my He-Man stuff there, as well as I use my Castle Grayskull, which this is a great idea for anybody that wants to get one. They have no idea how they're going to use it. I open it up and I actually use it to display some of my sentimental toys in. I don't just put He-Man figures in there. I've got like Godzilla figures sitting in there. I've got all different kinds of figures sitting in there. And it's one of those things, like, you take some of the toys that we used to use as play sets. Hey, Sideburns with us. We take some of the toys that are play sets and turn them into a secondary or third type of shelving.
Well, like I said, I mean, like, even where my Jabba's sail barge is, which is really, really big, it's sitting there all surrounded by Transformers because it's not that I wanted it there. That's the only place it would fit. And so kind of like space dictates where you put stuff too.
That's very true. Like, one thing I absolutely would love to be able to have a room big enough to set it up consistently and leave it set up, is my Transformers train set. That thing is enormous, but it's such a amazing piece. I know some people don't like it because they don't like the little rubber decoy dudes, but I've got the box to it. So I just have it all displayed in the box, sitting in the back. It makes a great art piece itself, but unfortunately I don't really have room right now to set it up. So it kind of has to sit behind everything at the moment. And we see that Sideburns busy doing his displays right now. That's what he's got going on behind him.
Could I jump in and listen and maybe input while I'm doing this?
Oh, that's fine.
I've been working on this for like all week, because I'm currently working on setting up my displays. Finally moving into the house I've been renovating. I don't know if I'm coming through very well. I'm on Wi-Fi, so.
Yeah, you're fine.
But,
it's a lot clearer. Yeah. It's a lot clearer than I thought it'd be.
I figured I'd just listen in and drop my input. I'm probably unpacking for another hour, or setting up displays for another hour, and then I'm freaking exhausted. I've been doing this all week. I have too much stuff. Like, I'll do a quick sweep around like, I got a bunch of stuff. all this stuff over here. So I got too much stuff for the amount of house I have.
So
So
when someone comes into your room, your front door, they get hit with that.
basically, I mean, I only have 1,000 square foot of house. I mean, I got like the bedrooms back there. So yeah, it's basically just collection in the living room. But you know, it's just
That's
me.
different. I like that. It's usually the other way around.
Yeah. I remember back when I lived in Florida, I had a loft apartment, and the bottom half was kind of like a living room. I had these kind of special L-shaped like um, shelving that I can kind of set any direction I wanted to, and I used those primarily to use as a room divider. So the one side of the loft area would be a dining room that was actually where my computer desk and all that stuff went. But then I used that divider there to put some of my collection on, along with my DVDs and such. But then upstairs at least I had one big entire shelf that was nothing but a glass shelf that had all what I could say are considered Bayverse stuff was on it. And then I had this entire other side of the room that were like these little cubicle type of like cube shaped things. That was everything else. So I understand like lack of space when you have entirely too much. And the thing was at the time I was busy still buying a lot. So yeah, I didn't really have a place really to put boxes. I just had to kind of shove the boxes in a closet.
It's funny. It's funny because like all the newer stuff that's come out in the last year or so, I still kept the box. I still had that collector mentality, and I found that I had 3 big like 40-gallon totes of empty boxes, and I'm like, this is dumb. So I actually just a buddy just picked up a a Silverbolt for me,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, yeah, you're gonna get that Spinster from me, right? I said, yeah. I said that's the one that was in the 2-pack. I just wanted the Spinster. And he goes, well, do you want the box? I said, no. I said, as a matter of fact, that Silverbolt just bust it out of there, give me all the stuff and instructions, and put it in a smaller box, because I'm going to take a day and throw all my boxes away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the room. I
I'll
still
tell you right over here.
but
This box,
you don't need the boxes.
this box right down here is full of destroyed boxes. Because I don't have any room to keep boxes. So
Yeah,
I kept some of them to pack stuff up. Because I had gotten it around the time I was packing to move out. But for the most part, I ran out of box space a long time ago and just started destroying boxes. And I've been doing that as part of setting up. I originally was going to do a really down and dirty setup, to just get stuff out of pack boxes, but I realize I don't have enough space for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to figure out what I have space for, and then get everything in place that's going to be permanent. Decide if I have space for a few more shelves to fit some more stuff on it, and then figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of it.
Yeah.
And leave room for places where I want to expand, and not just
that's
keep
the big problem. Just how much room do you leave?
Yeah.
But getting back to boxes, I mean, some boxes, like if I had gotten the new Legacy Minosaur gift set,
Mm-hmm.
okay, the gift set, I would keep the box. Like my Raiden, my Hasbro Raiden set, I got the gift set box with it. I'm keeping that. I'm not gonna, because that was part of the selling point in my opinion. It was a gift set. So some of that stuff, yeah. But I mean, a Beachcomber, Cosmos, a Bumblebee, I don't need the boxes. So I'm just gonna get rid of them. I'm just done. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's completely understandable. I mean, I like because they did that new Bumblebee and the gears and the Generation One looking bubble packaging and such. That's cool for like a piece that maybe if you want to hang it on a wall, you know. But when it comes to the box version, like the boxes aren't anything really to be desired. Sometimes the artwork's cool, but it's not worth keeping. And in my opinion, I have a knockoff Metroplex box, which I like because it's like the Generation 1 but it's a knockoff box, and I find it interesting because it's an interesting box. Plus, it's good if I ever needed to pack up one of my custom ones, I could put it in there and not damage it. But, like, my Transformers Collectors Club C-Con set, well, I keep that box because it's, you know, one of those high quality boxes you get from like BotCon, like that quality, that crazy quality with the foam and everything. That's something that I didn't get rid of either, you know. But when it comes to just normal boxes for like, you know, take
Well,
for
I mean,
instance the core class figures, like I don't keep the box, I get rid of it.
right. Like I said, the ones where they might change a little bit of the artwork, but they're the same box.
Mm-hmm.
If you turn it around from other angle, it looks to me that's a cookie color box. If you really like the artwork, honestly, cut the front of the box off, keep that, throw the rest away. But I always kept. There was two reasons I always kept the box. Yeah, I always thought in my head, if I ever wanted to resell it, it'd be worth it. No, it's not. And two, I wanted to keep all the pieces together. Well, guess what works great? Ziploc baggies. Throw everything in a Ziploc, toss it in the box, takes less room than a box. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Every collector has Ziploc baggies.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when it comes to like accessories, like I know you probably don't display all your figures with all the little tiny guns and accessories.
Now, I have a small little tote of baggies of all these spare accessories that you don't need for robot mode.
Right. And I do the same. I put mine in little. I actually have not just Ziploc bags because I actually have just kind of fold sandwich bags, but these go inside my. I actually have 4 of those Transformer collector's cases, the suitcase style, and that's where I put all my accessories in those little plastic trays in those baggies. But I keep them all separate, so it's like this is parts for Superion, this is parts for Computron, stuff like that, so that way I can keep each individual thing separate, and it lets me be able to store them in a nice case that is in the theme with the room, and it doesn't look like it's out of place, you know.
One of the neatest thing I saw, and D-Tops used to have it. They had a pedestal you could buy, and it was neat because it would raise it up like a foot. But the neat thing it did is you could actually flip it over,
Mm-hmm.
and it was hollow. So if you like had a tackle box or whatever with all the accessories, you just slid it in there, and there you go. This decoff all the extra parts are under. And that was a neat idea. I never got them. They discontinued them. But I always thought that would be.
Well, I have a small, because my other half does like beadwork with like jewelry and such, and she had this little case that had several of them in there, but she took the parts out because she wanted to put them in different containers, so she gave me this one little tray. This tray was perfect for me to put my little Diaclone figures in. A lot of my blast effects go in there. I've also put all my GoBots guns in there with them, and also have little Energon cubes. Because everything's compartmentalized, I'm able to like kind of divide everything up. So if I ever needed to get anything out of it, all I gotta do is slide it out, pop it out, take out what I need, and close it, and not have to worry about a whole thing I have to pull out to try to drag it out to try to get those little pieces. So that's something I use, which I think is kind of convenient, especially for very, very, very tiny stuff. Not, like Computron fists and such, but like, you know how big GoBot guns are. They're tiny. Like, GoBot Spy Changer style. They're very, very small guns. Some of them, yeah, you can store them in the alt mode, but I don't tend to do that. I just tend to just keep them all put together. And the same thing, if I'm ever going to use the guns, I'll put them in their hands. If not, I don't. Because, I don't know, I just don't like leaving weapons in the hands of some of those figures because of how old they are, especially the translucent plastic ones, because they can potentially break, So that's a good way to be able to store those items so that way you don't lose them. But I try to centralize things when I do that. So it's like, if I'm trying to figure out where I could put something, I'm like, well, if this isn't going to fit here, I want to make sure I don't lose it, so I put it in something so it does not get lost. So that's kind of how I handle like accessories and stuff like that.
It's funny because like it was Ruination. When Ruination came out, and if you'll remember Ruination, they changed some of the accessories so that you could take all the extra little bits and put them on toy and combine them. Most notably, Swindle's gun had an extra post, and the ramp had a plug that would plug into the back because there was an extra hole put into the double barrel cannon.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a way to put all your G1 parts on a G1 Bruticus.
How do you do that then?
So I'm trying to remember exactly, but any port, like on Blast Off, when you make him an arm, you can flip the wings up and still put the guns on there. So they're still on there. And you can even turn them around so that they would be facing towards his fist. He raised his arm, they would cannons. And then there's other ports that you can put the guns on. And the ramp, you can actually kind of put in between the bot and the double barrel, and it'll sit back there. So it's kind of a cheat code if you don't want to separate all your little parts. The only one that I've never ever seen, I take that back. What is Predaking? I haven't seen anyone that was able to put all the little guns, because they all came with two, in combined mode. But the worst is Piranacon. I think it's got like 27 parts. It's like crazy.
It's got the little flight stand pieces.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do with those?
Spare guns for your other robots. They don't have them.
I guess. I mean, what are you going to do with them? The only thing that'd be neat about that is if you really, really loved the Seacons and you wanted to put them in combined mode, robot mode, and then had them on those flight stands in their C mode. That'd be a cool display.
Oh yeah. There are people out there that buy,
Three of everything? Yeah.
Yeah, 3 of everything, so they can do that. And in some cases, isn't there sometimes you have to have 4 of everything for it to work right? Very seldom. But have you seen how people store their parts for Scorponok in his robot mode? Like all the parts.
I know that the little antenna can plug in certain places, and you can take the 2 mechanical arms and do something with that other than put them on fast track.
Yeah, what I used to do is you take the 2 mechanical arms because they have little holes in them. And if you want to look on the back of Scorponok, he's got 2 little nubs that stick out on either side of the ramp.
Oh, so you just stick them behind.
They stick right on there.
Oh, okay, there you go.
And for the elevator portion, you fold it up and you can actually put it over his scorpion stinger on the back, and it'll hold back there just fine. And I've done a very similar thing with Trypticon before too. The 2 little gray pieces that are for adding on like Onslaught and Motormaster, you can actually take those because they line up perfectly with the holes in the back on Trypticon's spine, and they'll plug into to the sides. And then you can take the ramps that he has and set them within that, and it'll actually hold them back there on his back.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and I messed around with those so much because I was always like, how can I figure out a way to store all the parts when I have it sitting on a shelf and not have to have all these parts sitting in boxes everywhere, you know? So I got creative and I figured those out.
See, the funny thing is like I'm okay with doing that for a lot of different bots, but like when I started getting the masterpiece train bots, and I still need one, so I do not have a complete set yet. And I found that in robot mode, I hated the backpacks. Well, they pop right off.
Hmm?
So I popped those off. I left them in the box. So that's one instance where I kept the box. And to me, aesthetically looking, they looked way better. They looked good because they were slimmer, they weren't as bulky, and they looked like the train bots. They looked a lot like the G1 train bots I had. More modernized and bigger.
Right.
So that was one instance in which I did the opposite. So
Well, that's the thing.
it's all good.
Even G1 Raiden, you can take those extra train bits off and set them to the side. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of excellent that they did that with the Masterpiece to kind of homage the original toys in a lot of ways on that. But yeah, like when it comes to like box storage, like you're saying, storing boxes and totes somewhere else, I have my boxes in the top of the closet over here, and that's where I've got those because I've got all the Glacial bots, and I'm not going to get rid of Glacial Lord boxes because
Sure.
they're
You like
interesting, cool boxes are kind of part of the toy, you know.
Well, let's put
So-
you this way: how neat are Hot Toys boxes in mailer sleeves?
They're not.
That is why all mine are in the basement, stacked on a shelf. There's no. I want to keep them because Hot Toys is a little different than Train. Hot Toys are definitely worth more with the box and the mailer. It just is what it is. Most people will say that that toy is not complete unless, in addition to the box, you have the mailer.
Mm-hmm.
They're that anal about it. But it's not like you're not displaying shipper boxes. So they're down in the basement. But getting on to another topic that we can actually flow right into
Mm-hmm.
is one of the things I have is because of the lack of space. I said one of the things is, well, do you put stuff in storage? Now, I have a complete set of carded Robotech figures. I love them. Say what you want. I love them. And they're all in nice little star cases, all great. And they're in a tote in my basement. Because I have no room.
Completely
So-
understandable.
Well, that's just it. At one point, I want to bring them out. So then you ask yourself, well, what do you do? I can find stuff up here in the room, sell, and then I can display them. Or I could rotate. Take some of the stuff from here, put it down there, bring that stuff up here, and do that. So there's options, you know. The whole, I got to sell it. I don't have the room. Yeah, but you could also do if you have storage room, you can rotate it.
Right. And sometimes that was the case whenever I lived in my apartment, and because I had two different apartments when I lived in Florida. I moved from a loft apartment to a 2-bedroom. I did have more space to store some stuff, but being an attic and buying plastic like I was doing, I had to start downsizing and selling stuff because I just didn't have room to put the stuff. And when it comes to selling stuff, it's not because you're selling it because, you know, you're like, oh, I just don't have room. No, it's more like am I actually still interested in that item? You know, like, I think all of us have ebbed and flowed through our collecting. You know what I mean? And it's like, do I hang on to it because I still think it's cool, or do I hang on it for monetary value? Do I hang on to it because I may end up being able to display it later? Like you're saying, keeping stuff in storage or selling it. That's always that's like the $1 billion question. You know, it really is.
Well, and look, man, everyone live their own life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'll give my advice, but take it with a grain of salt. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it doesn't make sense to pay on a storage unit for a collection that you rotate or that you never see. Now, don't get mad. If you think the opposite, good for you. That's what I personally would not want. Now, I have about 2,500 square feet of house. So I have a pretty big basement. My basement is probably close to the size of Mike's house. So it's about 800. So I got room to store stuff, but I always feel, man, what's it doing down there? It's not doing anything for me. So I get in that mentality of it, you know. One of the reasons that I started cutting my collection down it was for personal reasons. We talked about it on another show. I'll just leave it at that, personal reason.
Yeah.
But I looked at the stuff that was in the back, that if I picked it up and moved it, would I even notice? And it happened to be most of my Japanese, because it was all boxed. And so, you know, yeah, you know, I mean, I had them all.
Mm-hmm.
Great pieces. But I don't miss them, because I never saw them before. They were buried in the room I'm sitting in right now. I couldn't see them.
It's kind of like you can't miss something you didn't have. Because
Well,
when you
or-
had it, but you
I don't
didn't
know.
actually
How about
have
this?
it, 'cause
How
you
about this?
didn't
You
have it
can't
on
miss
display.
something. You can't miss something you can't remember you had.
Yeah.
And guess what else happens when you put stuff down in the basement and put it in storage and everything? You get on eBay and go, "Oh, I like that. I want to buy it." Boop, I already had it. You get doubles.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's happened to me too.
I'm sure it has. I had watched a thing recently, and Pixel Dan. I don't know if you guys ever followed him. He's a huge Masters
I
Universe.
saw his little in the basement
Yeah.
video, and that was hilarious when he got like swamped.
Right. And he was like, oh, he went out and he bought these, I don't know if you remember them, they're kind of like a Micro Machine X-Men comic thing. And they like,
Yeah.
those X-Men comic that transforms into a playset. And he's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I don't have those. Turned out when he started going through his basement, he had bought them many years ago and forgot he even did.
Yep.
So, this...
I had that problem because in the last 2 years, because most of my stuff was in storage, that I started losing track of what I had. And there was a few things that I bought twice on accident. And then I would go look at purchase history somewhere else later, and I'm like, what? I already had that. But yeah, it's very easy to do. And then that's another, I kind of agree with, I'm mostly in the same sentiment with Brett, and that I could never really like mentally justify having a separate like storage container
Right.
to keep my collection in, because I would just forget what was in there, you know, out of sight, out of mind.
Well, and it costs you.
Yeah, it's costing me money for stuff that I'm basically putting there to forget about, right?
Right. It's like one of the things I do is I got into comics and everything, and if anyone listeners, which I don't know if you're not, if you collect comics and you get on these boards and you buy comics, you don't buy one comic and then ship it, because sometimes the cost of shipping is as much as the comic. So you do what's called build-a-box. Build-a-box is that I will build you a short box, which is somewhere between 50 to 60 comics. If at any time you want me to ship, I put it all together and I ship it out. Now, having said that, so I have short boxes filled with comics that aren't even mine. If I was to have to put that into storage, then I am paying for someone's storage of their property, and I wouldn't do that as well. And I wouldn't expect anyone to do that for me.
Makes 100% sense because rats.
I can't see. I've said it many times. They're like, oh, I want to buy that from you. Can you hold it for me for a week? I'm like, well, it doesn't eat much. In other words, it's not costing me anything. Mm-hmm. So okay,
I've always been.
If it was in storage, it would.
Because I've always been paranoid when it comes to storing stuff like that for long periods of time. Because even if you have climate control, mice can get into stuff.
You're exactly right. My garage got attacked.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Like when it comes to displaying your stuff, move your stuff around. Make sure there's no critters. Make sure you don't have any leaks or anything like that that's going to cause any moisture or anything like that. Because some people use dehumidifiers and humidifiers both directions.
So the one thing that's nice about where I have my Robotech figures is, this is a goofy story. Sorry, it'll only take a minute. Many years ago, I used to go to Goodwill a lot, and we were at our first house, and I got a Christmas tree. And it was the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, man. I'm telling you. It's fake and it's sparse and everything. Well, we go to Goodwill and there's this beautiful 6-foot tree. $100. And I'm like, okay. And I start taking it apart and they go, oh, it came in these. And they roll out these two, probably the most heavy duty, thickest totes I've ever seen. Hinge tops, latches, metal clasps, everything. So those are in that. The thing's almost airtight. It's under my stairs from the first floor to the basement. Completely dry. I've had cigars down there not go dry. So I know it's not dry and it's not too wet. It's perfect. But you're correct. I haven't checked them in years. They could be, mice can get into anything. And something dry, it could brittle, it could crack, so anything. So yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. Checking on your items that are in storage, I'm guilty. I'm going to say don't be like me. Check them. Yes. And that goes back to the whole, let's just say every 6 months or a year you swap your stuff out. Guess what else you're doing?
Dusting.
Yeah, and you're checking on the stuff that's there.
Mm-hmm.
So you do it all in one swoop. And then you get a nice new, different, where you can enjoy the looks of the stuff that's been sitting under my steps for years. So, it's not a bad idea. I might actually do something like that if I get, really frisky on it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it is one of those things. Like even having a room that is, like my room I have in here, moving things around, things get dusty. If you haven't moved something in quite some time, spiders love to find these little holes. I mean, Cyber would be able to try to tell you all about little critters like that. But yeah, I mean, they will find places to nest. And if you don't move your stuff around too much, sometimes even transforming some of your transformers, if you haven't transformed them in several years, sometimes even the joints will try to seize up. Especially if they have springs and ratchets. It can
any sort of wetness will eventually, let's face it, toys, they weren't made to be around forever.
Uh-uh.
So what damages toys? Elements. Heat, sun, cold, moisture, mm-hmm. dryness. In other words, or time. So basically, everything. And that's not to even talk about the point that it seems like that any plastic or cardboard that has a toy on it must be delicious to varmints. Because they chew them all up.
Yep.
I guess it's like a spicy sauce or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like
Wait a minute, and get this. And I also found out, the more expensive the toy, the more delicious it is. I had a tote, and it had jump starters in it. Sitting right next to it, G1 Wheeljack. Guess what they ate?
the G1. It
Wasn't the jump starters.
It was the Wheeljack.
I was a little on the PO'd side.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, on like Jason's point on like joints and stuff season up, gotten lucky so far, but like the inevitable about unpacking a bunch of stuff that's been in storage for 2 years is I've had a few where I took them out and I was going to set them up and I snapped a joint. And no transformers so far. Well, I had one transformer break so far. That was the only name that comes to mind is Big Moss, but that's his Japanese name, the mosquito.
Yeah.
It's not mosquito. It's transquito.
It might
Is
be
that
like
right?
Transquito or something like that.
I
But
think it's transquito. Yeah.
he was in a special box for gold plastic figures.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And what broke on him was not gold plastic. It was those antenna. And Brett knows those skinny ass antennas that are so thin. It's a remarkable that they
You
even
give it a
survive.
little flick and they'll shatter.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Especially if those get dry.
So
I mean, they're up. First of all, they're paper thin. And
Yeah,
then they're
it broke me.
plastic that's a rubbery, which means as it gets dries, it gets hard, and then snap.
yeah, it broke in like 3 spots.
Yeah.
I picked it up out of the box and I went to try to move it into place and then it just snap. I was like, oh my god. But yeah, it's just and then like certain plastics, like rubbery plastics, I'm noticing a lot of them are like sticky. And if you don't have boxes like me, and some things can't go back into boxes, like
Oh, when you put them together.
like this guy, his little rubber, you see how bent that is?
Mm-hmm.
And I try to take care to pack these up as like well as possible, but there's only so much you can do. Over time those things start to settle and you start to get like warping and stuff like that. So, those are sort of things you got to consider when you're packing that stuff away, when you're storing it for a long time. Is some of that stuff in there is settling, and the plastics are, it might not have anything necessarily heavy on top of it, but just over time, as things weigh on it, it slowly
Well,
works.
You're right, but it doesn't even have to be that. Like I'm talking about my Robotech thing.
Yeah,
They've been down there for 5 years, and I haven't looked at them. Now, what do you think the odds are? Because those are O-rings.
Oh yeah. You're probably gonna be replacing O-rings.
Yeah, but they're carded. They're carded, which means that's it, buddy. You're done. You try and shake them to make them look good standing there, and you don't touch it.
Yep. There's a lot of
They're done.
There's a lot of GI Joes out there that suffer from that as well. It just happens.
Right. And no one touched them.
Well,
it's how they're stored.
yeah,
and I have a question because I was thinking that maybe. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was because we're talking about like rubber parts, and I was thinking about it earlier when I unpacked them. But Rampage here, he has those tank treads. Have you ever heard of those tank treads breaking? I haven't. I haven't messed with mine to see if it has any problems. You know, they're tucked away. I'm probably never going to pull them out because I don't
Well,
want them.
I look at like from the Thundercats, the Thunder Tank, and you might be able to find one that's beautifully gray. There's no yellowing at all. But 9 times out of 10, those treads are just, they're either rock solid in that position or they fell apart. And I cannot see the plastic in those being any better.
Well, it isn't like it's a very, very, very common thing for anybody that collects like the G1 car bots. If you're one of those people that collects 2 or 3 of things and you keep them in alt mode, the tires over time can go flat if they're not moved around a lot. And
Believe it or not,
also just dry rot and crack in half.
Sure, but you know what the worst ones are?
What's that?
Mini bots.
Mm-hmm.
The mini bots. I don't know what it is with the plastic or the rubber they used on those, but like you can take a Prowl, you know, a Jazz, and those rubber tires will probably be okay for a while. But if you get a Bumblebee or a Cliff Jumper and you lay him on a surface and there's any heat whatsoever, you have a flat spot.
Yep. It's just a softer kind of material I think they used on those tires.
And the funny part is, and I've seen this, I saw this in a toy store. It was a comic shop, and they had one. And I knew it had already started because I was like, oh, I'd like to see that. And I picked it up, and it was sticking to the glass. Mm-hmm. So just on a glass surface, the glass gets so hot, it melted the tires onto it.
Yep.
And I'm like,
I
yeah, I'm good.
I didn't know about that about those.
Yeah, they melt. Oh, yeah.
Like,
So I went. It's almost similar. So they're almost using like a rubber band, like rubber.
Well, they're not using like tire rubbers, that's for sure. So.
Well, I know Brett would remember this. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, Sideburn, but back when the Diaclone stuff was a big thing, they had those large bumper missiles. They had the big rubber tips. Now, my other half's father had a bunch of Micronauts. Micronauts used those.
Yep.
And some of those tips had actually fused to some of the other parts of the toys because they literally, chemical makeup makes it look like it melts into the other plastic, like somebody might have set it on fire at one time. It didn't set itself on fire, it's just a chemical bond. That's why I've been very adamant on anybody that buys any of this newer stuff that has the blast effects, take them off. Don't leave them on there for a long period of time because they will fuse to the guns and you'll never get it off. You'll destroy the gun trying to get it off.
It's funny because I remember this happening with Micronaut, but I've also seen it with some Transformers. But the rubber and soft plastic, and I saw it on Micronauts with the little BOP missiles.
Uh-huh.
If they're sitting in direct contact with styrofoam, they will fuse with the styrofoam. So when you pull the missile out, it's got little white beads all over it. And your styrofoam has a little missing bead. Because I don't know if I know you do, but I don't know if everyone knows, but styrofoam back then was made of little beads, little round beads that were pressed and flattened into a shape.
Mm-hmm.
So when they break apart in little beads.
Yeah, a lot of packing
stick to plastic. They stick to rubber easily.
And that's one thing. Like, one thing I'm just curious of this for anybody out there who's watching this that probably doesn't know. We go into like the Prime series. We had the Beast Hunters, right? And you had the dragons. Some of them had rubberized like tails and such.
Yep.
I want to know, does anybody have any issues with that stuff degrading, especially, if they've stored it away for a while? Because I've heard the Revenge of the Fallen Bludgeon figure, the one they also use for Bonzatron, the tank, those treads, literally just disintegrate now.
I can tell you that one, just like Mike said with Transmetal 2, Cheetor, or hit the one, I can't remember the name of the one he has, but that tail, will fuse in a position and become rigid. But also the wings for transmittal to Megatron, the dragon, and Cryotech. Because not only that, it had a metal piece that ran in it because you could take the little switch and swing the tail.
Uh-huh.
For some reason, that stuff is of a softer, rubbery plastic, and I've heard of those just breaking because they're two rubber pieces with a thin piece of rubber that covers that metal piece,
Uh-huh.
and they'll just snap right there.
Now,
And we're talking about a toy that's what, 98?
yeah.
Well, so it's kind of surprised because I was, we're talking about that. So because I had just put this on the shelf. Is
He's one of them too.
Dinobot.
Yeah.
I was surprised my tails were still pretty good. Like, and it's like because I've noticed a few of my Beast Wars figures with like rubberized parts all have a tacky, like sticky feeling to them, which I don't remember them having when I packed them away. But at least my Dinobot tail is still pretty good. It doesn't have a tacky feeling to it. But I always worry about rubberized parts. There was that Rhinox that was released in Generations before Kingdom, and it had like the whole rubberized back section. And I'm pretty paranoid about that eventually dry rotting. That seems inevitable. And then there's the Kingdom Megatron. His entire body is rubber,
Uh-huh.
and that one really kind of, I hesitate to see what it's going to look like in 20 years. Hopefully, it sticks together just fine, but it seems like something that we'll start seeing like a lot of varying degrees of degrading on them, just depending on how you store them.
Right.
If you have your collection sitting directly in sunlight, that's a bad idea. Don't do that.
Yeah, at least have some kind of like drapes or something or some way in order to block UV light from coming into your collection room. Like me, mine's an entire enclosed closet, so I don't have to worry about that. But I know some people, if they have like a fairly good sized house and they got large windows, you may want to invest in getting something to kind of black out the windows a little bit just for that. Looks like we lost Brett. But yeah, like that can happen to rubber. Like if you have anything that's a white plastic, usually that will discolor, and blue plastics actually do as well. Although you can't really see it, it's not as prominent when you look at the blue. But they will discolor over time, and you won't be able to tell unless you literally pull into another room and you're like, oh, it's turning kind of blue usually kind of turns almost like a greenish color, and obviously white kind of turns almost yellow if it's left in sunlight too long. Red,
Yeah.
I think, kind of just starts to fade to more of like a pinkish hue or whatever.
And just so anyone watching, if they've noticed, that's not a yellowed Transmiles 2 Dinobot. That's just a running color change. It's a variant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like it's been sitting in the frame the whole time, and it's like you see two Dinobots of different colors. But yeah, I think I noticed that Jetfire I bought when you were with me at Con that one time. I'll have to dig it out, but I feel like it looked like it might have yellowed more in storage. But
Well, I've heard this, and this is something that I heard some time back, that there was I forget who it was, but they said they had a Minerva. And Minerva is like one of the hardest figures to find for Generation 1. And it yellowed in the box, in their closet. It was never exposed to UV lights. And what that is the chemicals that's in the plastic that's just starting to break down. You do have to keep in mind a lot of these toys, when they were created, they will break down over time just because half these toys, like I had a really good discussion with Proto Man one time about the longevity of a lot of toys. they have like a certain limit to when they're supposed to break, or how long they're supposed to last. Most of these toys should have never lasted. Like, take my, my Jetfire I have here from G2. This thing shouldn't have lasted as long as it is, but it has, because it's, been in good condition. But this technically only probably should have lasted maybe 2 to 3 years. That's usually the longevity of most toys. And that I'm talking hard playware,
Yeah, they're anticipating most of these toys would have been in a landfill a long time ago.
Yeah. And that's the thing a lot of people need to understand is when you are displaying your collection, keep that in mind that you may end up having something break. Like, especially if you're like me and I collect knockoffs. Knockoffs actually have a lesser lifespan than authentic toys because the plastic quality is not as great. Like, I've got like some of my knockoff Abominas here. Yeah, he's gray, he's blue, he's supposed to be a different color because this is the color he was in. But if I put this, next to an original one, yeah, the plastic's going to feel more inferior. It's going to feel a little lighter and more porcelain, as I like to call it. But that doesn't mean that it's a worse toy. That just means that it may not last as long as an original piece. But then again, I have handled original ones that break like a twig as well. Like, it does happen. Sometimes it's just a manufacturing error. That happens to a lot of, like, even modern figures. And, like, the HasLab thing, that whole situation, toys can break down over time. Even in the manufacturing process, can cause something to go bad. So, if you're displaying your toys, make sure you're taking a lot of good care of how you're trying to display them, especially if you have to store them. Watch out for the rubberized pieces, because sometimes those just will go off. Like, when it comes to this tackiness on the rubber stuff, the only big thing I can tell you, like, I've had an issue with electronics, like electronic pieces. Like, take for instance, I don't know if I can't really bring it over here, but it's my, I got this gaming kind of thing that you just use just for like palm, like first person shooter stuff. And it's a Belkin, and the whole portion of the bottom of it's kind of rubberized type of material. It literally turned into a gummy mess. The way I fixed it, and I don't suggest anybody does this with toys, but I used rubbing alcohol to get rid of it. And I pulled a lot of the stuff off, but it's still kind of ick. But it's not ick to the point that I can't use it anymore. It's not tacky anymore when I use it. It's still rubberized. It's got rough spots in it where some of the rubber stuff came off the plastic. But when it's a full piece of rubber thing, I think I've heard of some people using Vaseline or something like that on the rubberized pieces to kind of keep them moisturized so it doesn't disintegrate quicker. But I'm not really sure how well that works with some things. Have you heard of any cures or anything like that?
No, I'd have to look into it. I know it's just kind of like common with, especially translucent plastic, is that like mold release, like that sticky mold release that it gets. And I assume it's something similar with these rubberized plastics. Well, and usually it's like, I'm saying that because my Godzilla collection has a lot of the like translucent effect parts, and those get tacky sometimes. So no, it's something I would really have to look into and see if someone out there has a solution. I feel like someone out there has some secret sauce. It always seems like someone has a secret, and then no one shares it. But it's definitely something to look into. It's the first time I really encountered it with the Transformers. Was just noticing that some of those rubber parts, rubberized so that it doesn't poke someone's eyes out, but they were sticky while I was pulling them out.
I can say this for sure. Generation 2 laser rods. They have the same O-ring setup that G.I. Joes do. All 4 of those. If you're keeping them in the box, you might end up having the G.I. Joe situation happen where the rubber O-ring will go. But if you're having issues with trying to get them to stand up, that's usually what's the problem with them. You usually have to just replace the O-ring, and that'll fix it. But it's kind of funny because it's the only Transformer I know of that they've ever used an internal rubberized thing like that. That you wouldn't tell it was rubberized until you started actually messing with it. You know, it's a real strange thing. Like, other than the outside pieces that we're talking about that are tacky, this is an internal part that you don't even see. You know. So I don't know if there are any other figures other than those that even used anything like that. You okay there, Brett? He's back with us again.
I cannot wait to get this new computer going. This thing is such a garbage.
So Brett's got a new computer we're going to try to get him set up with next week. He just didn't have time this week to get it all set up. But he does have one, so he'll be back on here with that thing. But yeah, we were talking about, like, do you know of any way to help cure the rubber situation with it being, like, tacky? Like, I've heard of people using Vaseline to kind of help get rid of some of that. And, I mean, I wouldn't use rubbing alcohol because it does dry things out, but I don't know. Do you know of any magical
I've heard
cures?
of the Vaseline. I've heard of the Vaseline trick, but to be honest with you, it's a chemical breakdown. It's going to happen. You know, the funny thing is everyone talks about Monstructor, the little shells,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't talk about Dino King so much. Here's the difference. The colors that were used in Monstructor, especially the purple, that degradation shows very quickly. Now, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. And primarily, the Dino King figures are more of a gray-black, so it's harder to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I guarantee it's happening. They're just, you know the old saying, ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Mm-hmm.
It's all going to go away.
Well,
You can try and preserve it as much as you can.
like
From what I understand, I do not know of any way to combat it. But I have heard of the Vaseline, the oil secretion, stuff like that, putting a coat on it. And they say it helps. I will not go on record as saying yes. I don't know.
Well,
I don't-
I do know there's another thing that a lot of people aren't really aware of when it comes to some of these plastics. You know, because you brought up pretenders. Pretenders like the arms are usually kind of a rubbery type of material.
Oh,
And
for the
they
for
will
the
actually
shell.
get spotting. It looks like
Yep.
mold, but what it
Yep.
is, it's basically the breakdown of the chemicals inside
Sure,
the
it's
arm,
the separation of the
plastic.
chemicals in the plastic.
And it looks like mold, but it's not actually mold. It's breaking up, and it looks spotted. And I've had people ask me, well, how do I fix that problem? And I'm like, you really don't. Most people I know of that once they start getting to that point, if the arms aren't sticky or rubbery or something like that, seriously, just repaint them. It's the only thing you can really do. Because
Well,
you're not going to be able to
something
do
along
anything to
that
fix that.
I have a theory,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that if you were to put a dull lacquer over it, something that wouldn't make it shiny so it wouldn't look different, but it would put a coating on it, I think it might stop it, but then you don't get that being able to bend it.
Yeah.
It'll be more rigid. In other words, you're putting a coating over it to stop it from decaying,
Right. Which that
which in effect will also damage the toy, so you're kind of screwed that way too. So I mean, you know, An hour later, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things. It's like I was telling Sideburn earlier. I was having a conversation with Proto Man about this, and we were talking about like the longevity of you know a figure, you know, and most people don't understand. Most of these toys are designed to be broke within 2 to 3 years of manufacture. They're not meant to last 40 plus years, and it's about how we take care of them and where we put them and how we display them. But there's just the inevitables going to happen one day to that toy. It doesn't matter if it's an authentic one, if it's a knockoff, you know, it does happen. The knockoffs, I mean, I think you and I have handled knockoffs that were almost better than the official, but we've also had vice versa, you know. And it's pretty crazy. Like,
It's funny because and I was going to get back to it, and then my computer went, kissed my butt. You talked about boxes and artwork and everything, and how the knockoff stuff you would keep. I would say 199, 200%. I would keep knockoff box artwork. It is much more frail. It is much more rare, and in my opinion, the goofiness and everything makes it's just neater.
yeah.
It really is. If you look at some of the artwork on some of that stuff and just the stupidity in the names. 4-Star had a few Dinobots out there. What did they call them? Dinosaur 1 and Dinosaur 2. I mean, way to think outside the box, dudes. I mean,
Well, there's a
let's throw all these construction vehicles together and make a combiner. What we could call him? Mr. Hard Hat.
mhm.
Way to go. All right.
And how many times we've seen knockoff Devastators with some of the weirdest names too. Not just knockoff Hard Hat, but straight a 1-to-1 knockoff, but then they called it something completely different, thrown on a card.
Sure. Because why not? Kids will buy it.
And it's just a different color, or they added a couple parts to it to make it different. Because the rule is if you change 20% of something, it's no longer impending an IP. Which is kind of crazy. That's why you see knockoffs
So-
in different colors or added on parts or a
Right.
different head. They
So I
didn't have.
I threw little points that I wanted to put out for our topic tonight.
Mhm.
And we talked about a couple things. My top thing is there was 4 key categories I wanted to talk about. Money, which we talked about.
Mhm.
Space, we talked about. Drive, which we kind of did. That's changing the direction of your collection.
Mhm.
But something we didn't talk about. Too much.
Yeah.
At what point is your collection just so overpowering that it's just too much? And that would be a reason to change your collection.
Of course.
We talked about changing displays, adding more room, downsizing. We didn't talk about it, but we all thought about it. Getting out. Say, you know what? Check, please. I'm done.
And
We
there's-
talked about the selling versus putting in storage. Got that.
Mhm.
Getting a smaller place. And I countered and said, well, okay, what if you get a bigger place? So everything else I kind of think we got, but we really didn't talk about that. So, okay, you've got this nice, great collection that you like, right? Proud of it. You worked hard. Displayed it nice.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we got to move. And the place we're going to is half the size of the room you had before. What do you do?
That's the question. Do you pay for more storage? Most people
Well,
don't.
then you jump back into the topics we talked about. Do you pay
Yeah.
for storage? Do you find storage? Do you rotate stuff out? And then I threw in a little, wrench in the machine there, and I said, all right, let's say the place you go to is bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? Okay, the easy thing is you take stuff out of storage. You don't have to rotate things around or whatever. But then you go, oh man, I got all this space. Here I come, eBay.
Yep.
I'm going to start buying this stuff. Is that right?
To me, there's
If
a limit.
If you have the funds and the space, which are two things that most of us don't have, do you broaden your collection, or do you keep it as focused as you have? I mean, that is another possibility.
I mean, in my case, I've had to do the opposite many, many times where I moved to a smaller place and had to downsize.
Sure.
But what that's done for me,
Focus.
it helps me hone
Sure.
in on what is
So I'm
important.
asking you, is if all of a sudden money wasn't that big of a deal and you had twice as much space, would you buy more or would you keep the same mindset?
I'll be honest with you, I'd probably keep the same mindset because it's what I like.
And also,
that's just me.
things can change and you'd be right back where you were.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we kind of didn't talk about is not downsizing. It is a part of selling, but redirecting.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I have done is instead of collecting Transformer toys, I collect comic books. So like a big portion of my Japanese collection, I traded for comic books. Easier to store, less space, and the ones I got were graded, so it's kind of like, it's a gimme. It is what it is. But getting back to that personal reason, my reasoning for downsizing everything was that I'm not going to be here forever. And for my family, I'd rather them look at a 9.8 comic and know what it is, as opposed to this, G1 Prime, that's the blue trailer with the rare marking and it's worth this much instead of that. They're not going to know.
But that's
Makes it easy.
that's the thing. Like for me, when it came to me collecting, I have physically downsized, and I also know that a lot of stuff that I collect now isn't gonna bring billions of dollars. I'd rather the money go elsewhere into what I use, like electronic equipment, my vehicle, things for getting life type of things. But
Should I say it?
go ahead.
I mean, it's taboo in collecting community.
Hmm?
Investment,
Investment.
401k, retirement, pension. I'm sorry. But guess what?
It's part of life.
It's part of life. When you don't want to do anything else, you will not be able to work. This is what you're relying on.
Mhm.
And as much as I like toys and comics and this, that, and the other, and I do spend money on it, I don't want to rely on this for the last 20 years of my life.
I mean, the way I see it is because I personally have, I'm gonna have to go see a doctor about it and such like that. But I have a lot of nervousness. I get real shaky sometimes when I'm doing stuff with very, very tiny things, which I absolutely love. Right.
Mhm.
And there's times it worries me that I'm gonna end up breaking something just because I am very shaky. Like if I'm trying to set stuff on the shelf, sometimes my hands just go unsteady. I have no idea why. It just happens. It even happened the other day when I was doing work on my truck. It just happens. It's like a nerve thing. When we get to a certain point in our age, because a lot of us are getting older, it gets harder to want to spend the time messing with something. It's like you. It's like, how many times do you pull Fort Max off a shelf to transform it? You know what I mean? Like,
I haven't in 15 years.
see what I mean? But how often would you pull off, like, if you had Ripper Snapper there? Probably a billion times, because it's simple, right? And it's not a big thing that takes up a whole lot of space, and it's not going to stress you out. Trying to pick up a Fort Max is like picking up a toddler and carrying it around. It's like, when it comes to the big guys, it's cool. Put them up on the shelf. They're neat to look at. But after a while, what are you really doing with it?
So you're saying you'll pick up your niece or your nephew, but you won't pick up your sister. I got it.
I mean, what I'm saying.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things. As you get older, it gets harder. Like, you and I both are dealing with like major back problems. It gets harder to go, oh, I need to get that figure off the bottom shelf. Well, you gotta bend down. It hurts to pick it up. You mess with it, and then you're like, I don't even want to bend down and put it back on the shelf. I'm gonna stick it on a table and it sits over for like a week because you don't want to go and try to put it back.
My big thing is it's the desire.
Yeah.
The toys I have, I like them. I've transformed a million times. They're there, and then I'm more focused on the new stuff coming out that reminds me of the old stuff, like the Missing Link stuff. I told you, those are desk fiddlebots all day long. If I feel like transferring something, I grab those. Mm-hmm. It's newer. It's still something I know. And it's easy. I go over and I happen to pan over and I say, oh, there's that Masterpiece Jetfire. Maybe I should transform that. Nope. Don't touch it.
No.
Don't touch it. Leave it alone. All you're going to do is get ticked off.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I don't... I think that's the thing that I really still can't wrap my brain around is the people that go out and buy, like, what is it, that third-party C-Con set that came out that was, like, Masterpiece grade. The shop had got one in, and I had never messed with one. I was like, okay, well, it had all 5 of them in the robot mode, and I was like, I'll try to combine it so we can try to put it on a shelf. It took me forever to figure out how to do that. And I'm like, people do this for fun. Like, how many times are you going to transform this thing back and forth? I'm like, sharp pieces, some parts that didn't want to move because they were really, really, really super stiff. And I'm like, and then I had 4 bags of just parts that go to it.
Okay, well, let's not even say that. I'll make it easy. And this is with me and third-party stuff. Mm-hmm. Here's the problem I had with third-party stuff. If I get something from Hasbro, I get a 12, maybe 20-page transformation. I've seen 40 pages on a third party. Mm-hmm. That is just too complicated, too long to get to where it needs to be. What's that mean ultimately? It doesn't mean that I don't... Maybe I'll enjoy the transformation. But I'm only going to do it like once. Probably won't do it again. And then if I decide to put it back in the box, I'm going to dread having to transform it.
So do what? Put it in storage to sell? To do something
or to
like
sell.
That.
Right. I'll be right back.
Just like we were talking about, like when it comes to displaying your toys, it's like if you have a D12 and say you're a Devastator collector, say you went done with Devastators, cool, you have plenty of room there. But say you like to collect all the combiners, how many D12s is it going to take for third party combiners. Like, especially if you're like one of the guys like me, like you like the Generation 1 and the Generation 2 colors of Minosaur. You're going to have two of that guy. And trying to display him and put him in dynamic poses and stuff like that really isn't the room for it, depending on how big your room is. But it's just like, how many times have we seen DTOFs break? Like, what would cause that? Like, Sideburn, do you have any idea what causes DTOFs to shatter like they do?
I think I heard something because I was talking in a collectors group because I used to have a ton of DTOF in my old house, and I think that discontinued the DTOF now, but apparently there was a run of them that was not properly tempered, and they were shattering. I would assume, like, glass is one of those things that it doesn't break until it breaks violently, so it's hard to say. But I mean, like mine were always pretty sturdy. I would assume that you could probably break them by over tightening the base that sort of sandwiches it all together. I do know that there was like a defective run at them where it was like I assume IKEA got cheap and didn't properly temper the glass, but
Right.
yeah, those details they don't. The reason I sold all of them when I moved, one, because they're absolutely nerve-wracking to move with, to stick in the back of a U-Haul out there. But they just don't offer a whole lot of options with like the space. The shelves aren't very tall,
What are we talking about again?
nor are they very wide.
Like,
But
the drawbacks of DTOFs, like, I don't know how many times I've seen them shatter.
so you would have you would definitely have a hard time putting a lot of those big combiners on them if you could even get some of them on.
The neat thing is yes, for bigger robots or whatever you want to put in there, you're going to take up a lot of space. But people have gotten ingenious in making spacers, buying extra pieces of glass and making multiple shelves. Because they take a U-bolt with 2 bolts on 4 sides, bolt that down so the glass sits on that, and you can adjust it however you want. Yeah, the DTOFs. The biggest problem you have with DTOFs, they're not adjustable.
Yeah, so these are not adjustable either, the ones I bought, but I solved that kind of from the side. But all these
Risers, what we talked about before.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what I've been doing to make more space. Like everything that's on this top shelf up here used to be like 2 to 3 shelves on a DTOF.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I made a lot of space just by using risers and stuff like that. But
to me,
even then, they're packed in there.
I use DTOFs. I have 4 of them because after I put in, like, from my door to my wall is 10 feet. I have an 8-foot display. So I have less than 2 feet. And a DTOF is a little over a foot, fits perfect. I already had one, so I threw it there. I put my mini bots and my tapes there, and I use risers and everything to kind of spread it out to make the most of the adjustment. I do look at it, and I'm like, I do see some empty space that I could do that little U-bolt trick and probably get at least 6 to 8 inches of space that I could make some sort of a shelf. But then what really are you going to see in that sandwiched of a space? See what I'm saying? So it's not really worth it. But DTOFs do have their place. There are tricks to make them better. There are situations like mine, that little space, where it makes sense. But for the most part, like I said, I've always looked for department store closeouts where they have these big displays where if you've got a 10-foot wall and you can put an 8-foot display there as opposed to 2 4-foot, I'd rather have the 8 because you get more space.
That's true, because you don't have like the
You don't have a gap.
you don't have a gap between. You don't have to
Right.
deal with two things and there being a wall between.
Right.
Any of that.
I was very savvy in the display cases I got. Most of these display cases I got were less than $200. And you're like, $200? I mean, but for an 8-foot by 6-foot display with a mirrored back,
Yeah.
I got a heck of a deal on that one.
That's a steal almost.
I almost broke my back on that, but
Trying to get it up the stairs.
honestly, I disassembled the whole thing. You know what the heaviest part was? The
mirror?
daggone mirror. The back
Yeah.
mirror was so thick, and it's in 2 pieces. They're 4 foot each. Well, a little less because of the gap. But I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, my mom has an old vanity that has like a mirror on the back of it, and then when you take the mirror off, the vanity is light.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just back then it wasn't like it is now. Mirrors were thick and heavy. So
I mean,
Anyways, I'm gonna take off.
well, I honestly think we've hit all our points.
I mean, we really have, honestly. I know Don didn't get a chance to join us today, so
We can always get his views on it on the next one.
yeah, I think we will. We'll pick his brain a little bit about that and maybe continue on the degradation of toys and see what we could do to help others.
That was a tangent.
That.
I honestly think we could do another show just about that.
I mean, really, yeah.
Because there's so many stories and everything. But no, this was more about just displaying your collection and what you need to do or what you want to do. But ultimately, let's be honest, you do what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to sell it, if you want to downsize, you want to trade it, you want to do this, whatever, it's all good.
Uh-huh.
We're just trying to give some tips on maybe you didn't think about risers. Maybe you thought that DTOFs were the only way to go. Maybe you didn't know that you could find out your, local jewelry store is closing down and they have all these amazing display cases.
And
that are
storage
dirty.
options for your accessories,
Right.
Ziploc bags.
I'm telling you, Ziploc bags are the way to go.
Yeah, they are.
I have some music like this over here. This table is just full of.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the funny thing is I mean, I remember years ago that people were like, Ziploc bags are bad. They'll destroy your toys. Okay, I can tell you right now, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've always used Ziploc bags. I've never seen a problem with Ziploc bags, except that they can't keep mice out. That's it.
And nothing
That's
can
another
keep
thing.
mice out. Unless you,
Ziploc bags are candy to mice.
yeah.
As someone with chickens in my backyard and ducks in my backyard, you can't keep rats and mice out.
You just can't. I mean,
They find their way. If they want to be in there, they'll find their way in.
I found out that my garage, it has, and all garages do, they have a rubber footer if you have an electric garage door. And when they land, it smushes and it's supposed to keep everything out. Yeah, but when they chew through that, it's like, open door, baby.
Uh-huh.
They just come right on in. And all mine have been field mice. Just field mice. God bless them. And they don't go for the cheap stuff. They have the sweet tooth, baby.
Yep. They like the pricey things, so keep that in mind.
I know. Man, that ticked me off.
That poor Wheeljack box. They'll never recoup.
Oh yeah, I had like 2 or 3 G1 boxes get destroyed too.
Ugh.
I don't know what it is about 80s cardboard, but yum, yum, yum.
I guess it makes good nesting material.
I guess because you know what? My transmetal rat trap that's a snow globe, they didn't touch. Of course not.
It's the snow globe. They don't want to mess with it. It's too pretty.
Okay, so we take flaked chrome on everything and we're protected. All right, we figured it out. We got it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. The chrome on some of my toys did not fare well in storage. They definitely got worse. But.
So otherwise, you're saying you're gonna have to break out the dustpan after you get done.
Oh yeah, I look like I put glitter on, but it's transmetal stuff.
I just kid you not. I know. This is it. This is the last story. In storage, and I had a transmetal rat trap, and I knew it had a somewhat yellowed bubble, so I knew, all right, whatever. And I got it out, and it's sealed, and I'm looking at it, and I can't see the word transmetal on it. And I'm like, what is this? And I lifted it up, and all the powder just fell. And I could shake it like a snow globe, and this stuff would just, and it's sealed. The air never touched it.
Did you keep it?
I don't know if I kept that one or not.
I would have kept it and put it up as like an example of snow globe.
I probably should have, but I probably got mad and tossed it. But no, I might have it. I'm still going through all the old inventory. The last time I grabbed everything out of inventory I could find, right before BotCon, I went up there. I kept the same prices from 2016, and I sold everything but a half a tote. Everyone was amazed at the prices. I didn't care. I got rid of it. I got space. I got money.
And now
And I made people happy. and because of that, absolutely. As a matter of fact, the amount of money I made was almost as much for the computer. So I was like, good enough. I just got a free computer.
There you go.
And obviously I need it because this one just freaking died again.
Yeah.
And did I not even tell you guys? Hopefully this doesn't happen. So I jinxed myself.
It's like it's once a show.
Yep.
Good.
I was like, it's a good thing I joined in. Jason would have been talking to himself for a while.
Yeah. And it doesn't give me any warning. I literally had black screens. Well, first it does that freeze and kind of goes, and then,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, come on. I wanted one more show out of you. That was it. I'm going to retire you. You can lay back and relax now. And sitting over here, unplugged over here, is my new one going, told you.
Well, next week it should be a lot better on that.
Yeah, maybe next week I'll have my PC and stuff set up in here too, and be able to actually join from this house and not my other house. But I joined today on my phone. I get Wi-Fi because I moved literally next door.
So you're off your old Wi-Fi, aren't you?
Yeah, so I'm literally going off my old Wi-Fi right now. So
That's hilarious.
That's awesome.
yeah.
But anyway, I think we're just all going to say our goodbyes and wrap this up for the night. And we'll come up with another crazy thing next week after talking to Don about his display things. And maybe we'll touch base on how to take care of your robots to keep this stuff from happening.
So, once again, I'm going to throw it out there.
Don't do it.
I'm just going to throw it out there. People that are listening, that will listen, if there's something you want to hear, something you want to know about, throw it in the chat. Let us know. You know, if it makes sense and we all actually know about it. I mean, it might be something we don't. I mean, we're not the be all end all, but I mean, we might. And we'll give you the opinion. And maybe it'll help you out. Maybe it'll be, yeah, you should have hooked up the new computer a day before, and you'd be right. I get it.
Way to go, Megamus. Way to go, Megamus.
That was, I mean, I was just so tired, but no. Procrastinating. I was lazy.
No excuses.
There was no excuse. I was just lazy. I really need to know the difference between a lightning port and a C lightning port. I'm telling you. That set me back a day.
Google's your friend.
I get it, but I didn't know. You didn't either.
I did. When you called me, I was calling.
Don't
on
make
my
excuses.
phone.
Just say you're right.
Yeah.
Just say you're right.
You're right. You're right.
All right, then. We learned from it.
I
Good night,
can't
everybody.
understand the apple.
All right. Well, we're gonna pop out of here, and we'll catch you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.